Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Belegian.
About this as we start this, I want to yell, "We are so back" and all that stuff. But you know, when you do this stuff, what you have to do, Mike, is like I have to look down at my phone right now, so I'll just write, "We are so back" on our phones right now. Hi, how are you? Do you remember him? You've seen him before. It's been a while since we've talked hockey, and the reason why we're talking hockey tonight, we're actually heading out to a game tonight. It's great to have the high school ranks back. We're heading over to Novi Ice Arena to see Novi in Bloomfield Hills in a little bit, and we wanted to do this before we did it. So how you doing? We're going to talk some Wings and what's going on in the National Hockey League. I'm going to say this now before we get into the Wings because I want to start with the positive stuff, if I may. Mike, I am so absolutely positively overjoyed at the fact that we have the Four Nations things coming up. It is a travesty that we haven't had a best of the best tournament. And I am saddened that because of the political climate, we can't see a Team Russia in there. But to have a best versus the best, Mike, is just absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and I got into it today. Obviously, they've only released, about 6 players that they've rostered already. And then I was just going through it all morning, the projections and who's in and who's not in. And if that doesn't get you fired up, you check out the schedule on February 15th. And one of your favorite places, Montreal. There's kind of a big game going on.
A little bit.
A little U.S.-Canada action. And it just has to cross your mind, like, why aren't we there? But we'll be somewhere watching it. And until then, we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's a crying shame that we haven't had the pros in the Olympics. I'm going to say that until I'm blue in the face. It's a crying shame that we haven't had a Canada Cup or anything like that. The World Championship, as you well know, so many guys decide not to go. So to be able to do this is fantastic. It's great for the game. And especially with the younger generation that hasn't had a chance to play on the national stage. I mean, seriously, think about all the good young players who really aren't so young anymore that haven't had this opportunity yet. You know, the McKinnons and McDavid, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's thank God that they're bringing that back.
And if you look back to a time that they may have had that opportunity, it was the World Juniors. And that in itself is one of the greatest tournaments. Me and you talk about it all the time, and we'll be talking about it come up Christmas time again here on What the Puck. But it's true. I mean, it should be. You think back to some of the great moments. It's the international play, be it the Canada Cup or back in that obviously famous U.S.-Canada game in the World Cup that we had back, was that in the 90s?
No.
How good was that? When it's our game now started coming out when the U.S. beat Canada in the finals.
96, unbelievable. Yeah. That Canada Cup was unbelievable. Yes. It really was. So, all right, did we get the positives out of the way? We got them up, right?
We got them up.
Because I don't want people bitching at us and saying, this is negative. I know you and I were on the exact same page. I didn't think the Red Wings were going to be a playoff team this year. But I didn't think that we'd see this. And what we're seeing is not good.
Elaborate, because I've had many conversations with, I know you don't know this, but I've had many conversations. There's a bunch of season ticket holders at work.
Okay.
And they talk to me. So, and I know they have their, hey, Poppy, they have their opinions on things, and I've got mine. I want to give me some specifics of what you're saying.
First of all, Cole demands that he's on Team USA. He demands he's on Team USA, so that's why he wanted to jump in.
I mean, the way Cole's scoring goals, you got to.
He's on pace for 61 goals. At least that's one thing going right in Montreal. All right, a couple things going on. Number one, and I know you and I have talked about this off the air, I cannot believe how bad their penalty kill is. They're 30th in the league right now. The 65%, unacceptable. Defensively, I think we knew that there were going to be the issues on their blue line, even after, you don't want to call it an overhaul, but certainly a changing of the guard, so to speak. And the way they won games, like when I was in Germany, I stayed up and watched 2 games, right? Because I couldn't go to sleep. Like, legitimately, I couldn't go to sleep. So I stayed up. That's not sustainable. When you are relying on, especially who you're relying on, okay? It's cute. I know Steve goes out and gets these guys, and it's been his MO to get the Dwayne Rollisons and the Cam Talbots and et cetera, et cetera. A, that's not sustainable with that player. And B, it's not sustainable to get outshot like that. It just isn't. I don't care if Trey Augustine was here. I don't care if Jacob Fowler was here. I don't, one of the can't miss goaltenders or something like that. It's not sustainable. And you know what I do want to say? You know who I've been incredibly impressed with? And again, this goes back to the old bit that you and I have talked about forever. I never said he was a bad player, but Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin's been outstanding.
I've said it to you. I eat crow every time the guy plays.
He's been outstanding.
I didn't agree, and I thought, you remember Darren McCarty, the look he gave me when I did not agree with the captaincy. I did not agree, and I thought this contract would hamstring this team. And I still think it will with the total value of it all. But what I can't argue, and I can't say, he's living up to that contract. He really is. He's the best player on the ice. So back to some of the things you were talking about.
Say that again. Say that one more time. What you just said. He's the Red Wings' best player.
Yes.
He is. Like for all the Lucas Raymond, especially the way that he finished the season, for all the Mo Seider, for all that chatter. And I'm not saying that it's not going to happen yet, okay? Dylan Larkin's been their best player. And I'm still not ready to call him a star. Right. I'm still not ready to say he's a 1C or anything. But give credit to where credit is due. This guy has been a machine, man.
Yes. And he has to be. This is working right into, as me and you've had these conversations about what that Yzer plan is. And it's having the young guys that you're going to be depending on, the Raymonds and the Seiders under contract. Then these other guys you have under contract have to perform it. And Larkin is doing that. But jumping back to your point when I asked you, to be specific on some of the things, and you brought up the PK. You brought up the defensive play, right? The sustainability of it. There's a guy I listened to his podcast, the GM Shuffle. It's football. He's a football guy, Mike Lombardi. He's part of San Francisco, the Raiders, and with Belichick. He went all over with them. And there's something he says, you either accept it or you coach it. And that's what we're seeing, because this isn't new. This is what we've seen last year, and it wasn't sustainable last year. But the defensive lapses, you can't have your top 4 or 5 forwards minus hockey players. I do like the fact we got Seider even, Edvinson's plus hockey player. But the defensive side of it, you can't put these goalies under that pressure, and they're holding their own too. Telvin Line are holding their own. They're doing what it is. But what I wanted to say is, this is exactly where I thought they would be.
No, really? You know what? I thought, honestly, and I know I told you this, I thought they would be better, but still not good enough. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When we talked about when we ended the season with the talk about the Kane contract and whether the loan would be back, and then we signed what? We signed Mott. We got Tarasenko. And it's the exact same team.
Can we go back to Tarasenko for a second? Because I remember you and I, this was probably 10 months ago. Yep. I loved, and I told you this, I loved the Tarasenko signing with Florida. Why? Because he isn't what he was.
Right. But he could be who he is.
Yes. And
that was the exact conversation that he had.
Right? And that was okay. He was a big body. He was depth, especially with the way that Florida plays. And it was funny because then when the Wings signed him, I was fascinated that day. And I know I told you and our mutual buddy Hubie, I said, these people are like 4 years in the past. Like that Tarasenko's gone. It's like he's not there anymore. So it's kind of funny to me to hear all these people kind of go, what happened to Tarasenko? And I'm like, that's who he is. This is who he is now. Yeah. And it's been like that for a while. Speaking of Hubie, say his name and he shall
Yeah.
appear. 5 Nations, Clem Costin at USA Arena was a great performance. Sean and I saw it in person. Mike, did I tell you that? Did I tell you what he did? Okay. I'm going to tell everybody else out there. So there was this cocky Russian kid that by the name of Clem Costin. I'm sure you're familiar with him now. And he had a really big first and second period, and then the Americans made this like incredible comeback and tied the game late. And then he scored. He scored with like 50 seconds left, right? Something like that, like 50 seconds left, and started shushing the crowd. And I wanted to be mad. Like I did. I wanted to be mad. I wanted to put the American flag around me and go, guys, screw this commie bastard and all that. But I was going, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty stinking cool. 17-year-old kid shushing the crowd at USA Hockey Arena, for goodness sake. Derek Lalonde is a dead man walking. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I don't say that lightly because I like the guy. I've had the opportunity to speak to him a few times. I really like the guy, but he's a dead man walking.
And that gets into what I said. You either, as a coach, you're either accepting what's happening there and you're okay with it, or you're coaching it. It's one or the other. And this is a continuation of what we're seeing. And some of it, again, to go back to Mike Lombardi, he talks about, is it is it a plan? Is it the plan, or is it the production?
Right.
And I think it's the production is what is it should be. I think that, again, this is exactly where I see this team, but the plan, like, you can't lay it out. This team isn't heavy enough.
Nope.
They've got to play it a different way. And that gets onto the guy that, back to the season ticket holders I talked to, you're starting to hear Steve's name in a little vein. I never thought I would hear it.
A lot
in group text, where I wondered out loud with some of these guys, what would it take? When are you going to be done with it? And it's really, Sean, it's really starting to sound like the people are, but he's the furthest from gone. We had that conversation, right?
He's as safe can be. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's not. Mike jumped in, big game tonight, Canton and South Line. I'm really intrigued. I think South Line, I've heard a lot of good things, and we both love Gags, and I think Justin's doing it the right way. There's a lot of young players with Canton. By the way, let me tell you All About Catering. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for, from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see all their menus and their 5-star reviews, or give them a call at 586-731-1398 to get your event started. I'm telling you, folks, Rick and his family will take care of you. They've done big things for us, and I know they can do big things for you as well. Who jumps out to you in the league right now? Good, bad, and indifferent.
Well, there's the obvious.
Okay.
There's that team sitting at the top that everyone's just oohing and on over, and they're putting up numbers every game in the Winnipeg Jets.
It's insane,
right?
It's insane.
Then there's the other end of it that I'm looking at two teams that you got to be concerned with. Two of the big dogs, two of the usual suspects in the Colorado Avalanche and the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
But they're both, one's right outside of a playoff spot, I think Colorado is. They have no goaltending. They are probably third in scoring, but then they give up more goals than anybody. They are, I wrote it down, they are a -6 overall. They've scored 55 goals. They've given up 61. Boston is actually in a playoff position, Sean. They're a -11 goal differential. They're the only minus goal differential team, I think, in the playoff position. It's early, but again, we talk about sustainability. You can't do that. You can't give up that many goals and expect to make the playoffs. There's teams right below them, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and one team that we've been talking a lot about, the Buffalo Sabres. And I'm sure we'll have these conversations a lot about those teams, those young teams that we said that were going to come up, to a couple of them, in the Ottawa Senators, and doing what we thought they were going to do.
I watched that game the other day. That Montreal-Buffalo game was awful. I mean,
the 199
it
game?
was awful.
You sent me a text.
I'm not joking. That game, it was awful. Obviously, I'm happy with who won, but that game was awful. You know what? All right, so there's a couple things that jump out to me that I want to throw at you real quick. I think the Minnesota Wild, if it wasn't for the Winnipeg Jets, everybody would be going ooh and ah about the Minnesota Wild right now. They're finding a way to win games. And you know what? We're finding out that rebuilds aren't easy. And that is not letting anybody off the hook. That is not letting Steve Yzerman off the hook. That is not letting Anaheim off the hook. That is not letting Montreal off the hook, Buffalo off the hook, Ottawa off the hook. They are not easy. It's far easier to say we're going to tear it down and start over. The growing pains exist when you think you've gotten to a point where, again, this goes back to I think, Mike, people make a big mistake with the linear thinking, right? Well, if you did this, then that means next year is going to be that. And the year after that's going to, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Even player development doesn't work that way. Okay. I think there are a few Red Wings that could definitely apply for that. So I think, they're going to be ready to take a stand. It's early yet. Maybe the Habs learn to play defense. Maybe they have a competent goaltender. Maybe Buffalo puts it together finally. Maybe Ottawa. It's early yet, but the one thing that we all have to agree on, I think a lot of people thought every one of those teams I just mentioned were going to be much further along than they are right now. And the reality is they aren't, not even close to it.
And we're looking at a different kinds of things. I mean, you've got the Montreal Canadiens are scoring goals, but they're loaded on D. That part of the game's just not coming up. And then who we thought were goalies, Primo came on a little bit then, Montauban, you thought was going to be the goalie. That's kind of not working out for us. How fast can Fowler come in, right? Then we've got some of the other teams.
Ain't gonna be safe. Wow.
But when you're talking about the rebuild, the whole of the rebuild too. I mean, when you're talking about the Red Wings, you're talking about who's going to man that team, who's going to be behind that bench on that team. You need someone that can do that. So some of these teams are missing these just little pieces that make it even harder. Then you got teams like Ottawa Senators put some pieces in there. Signing Olmark was huge. It's been huge. It's been a little back and forth with some injuries and stuff like that, but that just brings an extra confidence to your team. Buffalo. Now, I tell you what, in some of these places, we really question the coaching decisions that were made, but they seem to be working out.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. It's amazing all the slander being thrown towards Marty St. Louis. And listen, it wasn't there at all. Even with the struggles of the last couple of years, I was reading one thing, and I don't even remember, it was or whatever, but they were suggesting that he might be gone by Christmas. Now think about this. This was the guy they've been singing the perfect coach. Oh my gosh, this was the perfect find, and it didn't matter that he didn't have any experience or anything. This is the league, man. It's a very unforgiving league, and I think a lot of teams are finding that out, including the Detroit Red Wings. And the one thing that I will say, Mike, is it's kind of funny when I talk to some of the diehard Red Wing fans, they don't even want to hear it right now. They don't want to hear it. It's almost like, all right, well, look, Pittsburgh's been struggling. We'll be okay against Pittsburgh. Buffalo lost 7-1 the other day. Okay,
you better win. That was one of the comments on as I was walking out the door today at work from one of the season ticket holders. Well, at least we got Pittsburgh tonight.
Okay. All right.
Okay. If you want an angry Pittsburgh Penguins team that just got jail sexed the other day by Dallas, I mean, it was bad. Go for it. But it is.
That was 6-0 in the first, if you guys didn't know. It was 6-0 in the first. I mean, that's the way it goes. Let me tell you about Lindsay Broadwell. We're only going to 7:30, but we're going to do this every week. When it's time to get yourself a new house, you're buying, you're selling, oftentimes both, you need the right agent. There she is, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you will ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville. She's expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. It doesn't matter where you are, she can hook you up. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. You know who we have not talked about yet, Mike? The defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers.
Well, you reload, you come back, and you are who you are. I mean, what can you say? I mean, some are good, and you just keep it going.
I'm not saying they're going to go all Tampa on us, okay? I'm not, but I like their chances again in the East a lot.
Yeah. So, but when you look at hockey, that's what I expected. When you look at hockey, when you take the path of the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Colorado Avalanche, they earned their stripes from the bottom all the way up, and it took them a while. Then they got one. Now they're the usual suspects. You expect them.
Yep.
It's rare that you get the St. Louis Blues, where you get to that top and now you're struggling. You fire your coach and you're hoping that you can make it back. But what you mentioned with Florida is something that's been sticking in my crops. I respect your opinion. I ask you all the questions. Is using your terms, we have the usual suspects almost all the time in the NHL.
Yes.
We're looking for those new suspects to come in. You've got Tampa Bay and Colorado, the usual suspects on the outside looking in. Who is one of the new suspects? Who in the NHL that we haven't seen in a while do something are you concerned about? That's going to do something. Okay.
Does that make you happy?
It makes me happy, except for they tend to not do well when the expectation is there. They do better when there's no expectation there. But I think they got the coach to do it. I think he's got something to prove too. He's got a bunch of guys on that team. They're young, they're experienced, they've got it all. And the signing of Marshall's huge. And why you look at how they went and grabbed him and other teams that need goaltending did it. I know he's not Patrick Waugh. He's not the greatest, but that's a serviceable goalie
100%
on a good team that could do something. I mean, you think about where that guy came. He's never been on that team that he could shine like that, and here he is, and he's going to shine.
Is there one that jumps out to you? I can't believe what the Capitals are doing and what Ovechkin's doing, by the way. Fat Alexander Ovechkin might be my new favorite player.
Well, I wrote a note on it. I said, were you more surprised to see how fat he was? Or the fact that he is now back on pace to break the goal record this year?
And he might do it this year. That's the crazy thing. Gee, so I like, honestly, I would, a year ago at this time, I remember you and I had this conversation when we did our trip. I was like, I don't think he's going to get there. I mean, he looked dead. He looked absolutely dead. No, but that, you know what? I think that division is intriguing because you know who else is flying under the radar, and I know they've almost become an old bit, is Carolina. They're off to a great start, but come playoff time, dude, I mean, it's become an old bit. Let's be honest. They all these great regular seasons, and they falter in the playoffs.
The problem is that they've done that. They've had those good seasons, and the why I say it's a problem is because there was one of the teams I looked at jumping on their odds to win the Stanley Cup.
Did you do it?
No, they weren't good. No, it's too low. So what I'll wait for is that at some point Carolina goes because they're going to have a couple injuries. I hope no one gets hurt. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but it just happens. The season gets long. They get some injuries. Some guys are out, and they falter a little bit and they slow down because they're just absolutely killing it. They're crushing it. I mean, Natchez, however you say the name, earning every penny of that contract. Right. Everybody's playing. Rod's got him going, but it's only a matter of time before fire the coach, everything's going to be done, and they'll hit that spot, and that's when I'll jump in on them. That's when I'll jump in on them. But one of the teams I had last year, not to win the cup, but to make the playoffs, I was very high on them coming in, was the Ottawa Senators. Okay. No. It was the Ottawa. So, yeah, I really liked what they did and had something. I mean, they didn't have the goaltending, but they were that young, upcoming team. With the goaltender, that's one of the – I think they're going to make the playoffs. I cannot the way they play the game.
I cannot stress this enough, and you've probably heard me say it before, and I will say it again. And I know how certain people around here feel about him, and I love Brady Tkachuk. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, go to war with that kid, slap a C on his chest, do all of it. Absolutely, positively. Hey, let's talk about our friends with the Wealth Advantage Group. If you are ready to take charge of your financial future, well, then look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those two brothers, who, by the way, Their nephew plays for Ann Arbor, Gabriel Richard. Easton Husak, that's right. These guys understand that financial goals are as unique as you are, and that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, you're already in retirement, these guys can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients through all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states, including like one sitting here talking to you right now. The investment world is a complex one, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574. Check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. So, yes, Mike and I, we're going to keep this short. Like I promised, we're doing a half hour tonight because we have to walk upstairs and drive over to the rink. And Mike, I'm not joking. Like, I'm so excited. Like our social life is back.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
we've got
this is our
3 games in
social
the
life.
next 4 nights.
Yeah, this is our social life. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, the Winnipeg Jets are making noise out west and all over the National Hockey League. Staying power. Do they have staying power? Can they finally fulfill what the Hockey News said was going to happen 5 years ago?
Well, now you're talking about sustaining it through the entire season all the way to the Cup. And that's where they falter. You know, that was a team I was very high on entering the playoffs last year. That was one of the lower end seeded teams that I thought could go through. They absolutely, again, they have everything right there. Can they put up with the pressures of that being that Canadian team that's going to go for the Cup and win the Cup? Hellebuck, love them. All the top guys, love them. I think they can. I just can't make that jump to Stanley Cup champion just yet because they haven't done that. I mean, it's been to, was it the first year that Vegas was in where they were on their road when Vegas knocked them off? I mean, they really haven't had any success since then in the playoffs. And that you have to give me some success for me to say they can do it. Like every time I've been successful in picking and putting future money on a Stanley Cup champion, it's that story of they built it. They don't have that story. Could this be the first notch in that story? Could they pull the St. Louis Blues? Just come out and do it? Sure, absolutely. But for the most part, when I see a Stanley Cup champion, they built their way.
Kyle Connor is such a heck of a hockey player too. He really is. When I look back at that Habs surprise run to the finals, the Winnipeg series is the one that jumps out to me. I don't know how that happened. Like, honest to goodness, I have no, and I know, but what are you talking about? They were down 3-1 to the Leafs. It's the Leafs, right? It's the Leafs. Even the Vegas, even Vegas. By that time, you win a couple series, and you're like, nah, they got something going on. I thought for sure they were out in that second round series. Yes, and it wasn't just Mike. They beat the Jets. Like, they beat the Jets. They swept the Jets in that series, man.
It wasn't close.
Yeah, it was weird. It was so weird.
It wasn't close. So I know we're getting ready to get out of here.
Yes.
Do we play and start the game of? We started this last year because we came in late last year.
Yes, we did.
Can we start it already? Wins make the playoffs?
Oh yeah, no. The answer is no. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not.
Are they going to be close? Are they going to give us a tease like they did last year?
If you asked me a month ago, I would have said yes.
Okay.
If you asked me today, like you just did, I say no.
So this builds more off of that. They are who we thought they were. That I thought this is exactly where I thought. I thought they were the same team as last year. And here's the deal. This is what I spent some time taking a look at is their wins. They have one good win. They beat the Devils. That is it. Their losses is every loss that you would expect them to lose. The Rangers, the Leafs, and I'll go back and forth with the Sabres. And the one that sticks out that everyone will kind of try to pull out is that overtime loss against the Oilers. I think they're going to have a few of those. That's what I think this is going to be just like. Whether they make it or not, I can't really say right now. If I had to make an answer, yes or no, I'd say no. but I could see them winning just enough of the games that they have to win because they've got the experience, they've got some guys they can do it. The goaltenders are doing the job, but they're not going to beat any of the teams that they need. The Rangers, the Oilers, the Leafs, the top end.
And speed still bothers them. Speed still bothers them. It's just
they're slower than this.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how that happened because they really didn't lose or add too much, but they are definitely slower than last year. They're not as pesky as last year. And so I don't see them beating the team that they're going to have to beat to flip into the playoff position.
All right, couple comments. Hubie said, what game are you guys going to tonight? Novi, Bloomfield Hills. Jets are the surprise team. Tom in London. Adam said they might burn out like the Bruins a couple of years ago if they are too successful in the regular season. Jim said, I'm ready to give Montreal back the rights to the top French Canadian every year again. Jim, you and I have had that conversation. You need to fact check that again. Remember when I sent you that article? That is like just false. I have no other way to say it, but keep going, baby. Caulfield, 45 goals, 4 assists. You know he's on pace for 61, right? He is. He's on pace for 61. It's insane. Abs from a good team to a great team like Kadri did. As Mike said, they have no goaltending. They have no goaltending.
Scary bad.
It
is scary.
Bad. You got to have at least. I'm not saying you have to have a stud anymore. I'm really not. You have to have some semblance of competence, right? In that,
competence breeds confidence, and you've got to be confident when they're not playing confident. No. They really are. To Tom's statement here that the Jets are the surprise team so far. Are you more surprised that the Jets are doing what they're doing right now, or the Washington Capitals are doing what they're doing? So if you had to say surprise team, I've watched a couple of the Capitals games. That team last year was horrible.
Dead. They were dead. They really, you know what? I think because of, what is it, 15-1 for the Jets? Is that what they are? I think because of 15-1, I'm still going to say the Jets. I think they're 15-1, right?
Yep, they're 15-1.
And because of 15-1, I'm going to say the Jets. But to your point, yeah, Washington. And Minnesota's had a fantastic year, and it just so happens they're playing in the same division, you know.
Washington's
unbelievable.
They're
10-4,
yeah, and they're I think third in goals for. Like that was the worst offense I've ever seen or ever had to watch on TV live.
Do you remember? I went to that game with Teddy, our mutual friend Teddy. It was awful, just awful. Hey, did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents, and they provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and help save you some money. Don't we all want to do a little bit of that right now? Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Give them a call, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quote. So I'm also going to say this before we get out of here, and we went too long. You know we would. The Wings and Habs are playing in that alumni series that I've been fortunate enough to call. Just wait till you hear. Just wait till you hear some of the guys I'm picking on. That's all I'm going to say. Including a guy that I'm just telling you right now, I'm going to talk to him fully erected. I'm just telling you right now. Okay, so I'm sure that's all something that you were looking for to hear. But I am going to have like a boner. I mean,
I'm fully erected. Is that the term?
I don't know. I'm gonna have it. That's why I'm saying I'm gonna have a boner.
Okay.
Now I'm 11 again. He's got a boner. He's got a boner.
I'm gonna knock your boner down here. I'm gonna leave us with a question for everyone out there to think about. They can throw it in there. Hubie, I know you'll be texting us in our group text on this one. Sean,
yes.
Have the maple leaf.
I love it. Do it. Just do it. I want you to do it.
Have they found a goalie?
Yes. But it's not going to be good enough. They'll go leaf. They'll go late. That's what they do.
We're going to continue this, but that was a big piece of it. Right?
Yeah, there's no question about it.
And we'll go Berube, and we'll talk about the rest.
We got to get out of here. We'll do this like every week, and we'll do our playoff watches again. And next time, Cole won't be down here saying, talk about me, get me on the American team. In the meantime, you guys take care. Talk to you soon. See you later. Bye-bye. God bless you. Later.
What the Puck with Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Always Pushing Forward by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.